off on the road one more time. Where are we going today, Danny? Well, I'll tell you where we're going. We're leaving Leander, Texas, and heading for a little village. Not really a little village, it's actually a medium-sized town in Veracruz called Papantla Veracruz, Mexico. It is 16 hours of driving according to the map. Might as well just count that as 20. And yeah, so it's gonna be a long drive. I'm driving through the night. I want to make it to the border, you know, in the morning, which I'm gonna have way more than enough time to do that. So I might stop and rest along the way, but I'm going to cross the border near Matamoros and hopefully run into or engage with some of the migrants that are on the border trying to cross, and see if I can get some of the story. Because when I came back from Mexico in March, you know, I crossed March 31st from Mexico back into Texas, and along that path I ran across about 300 migrants that were walking to the Texas border, and this was in Oaxaca, which is about 1,100 miles from the Texas border, at least from where I was going to be crossing. I don't know if they all ended up in El Paso. I've seen a lot about El Paso being an issue, Laredo being an issue. I believe Matamoros was as well. So I'm going to ask around, see if I can find a migrant campground, and hit some of those people up and ask them, because there were some very strange things that I seen when I passed that group in Oaxaca. The group was comprised of people from, well, Venezuela. Was a couple of guys that I talked to were from Venezuela. There were Colombians there. There were people from Ecuador, from all over South America, but there was also probably about a third of that crowd was actually Haitians. And yeah, I want to find out why, you know, what's going on there, because something I did notice, and before I even realized that you know, before I stopped and talked and asked, actually, hey, why are there so many people walking? I seen two gringos hanging out with these people, and something struck me as suspicious about that then. And then, you know, after talking to them, and, you know, in the stories I've heard over the years, how certain groups will actually send advertisements down to South America, like flyers and newspaper ads and all kinds of stuff, basically inviting people to come and try to cross the border. One of the things that was odd for me, and just using logic, is why would you walk from Guatemala to Texas, which is something that would take you a couple of months to do maybe, and not just get a bus ticket? You know, it would cost you more in food to walk across the country than it would to just get on a nice cheap bus ticket, you know, or a nice bus. Even one of the better buses probably only would have been about $100 and something bucks. I think buying food for 2 months would exceed that cost. So if somebody was supporting them all along that route, it would have been cheaper for them to just put them all on buses and send them up there. But I think they actually wanted to be seen. I think they were being used as political pawns, and you know, they were just using these people as a spectacle. So I know, you know, they have dreams and things, you know, things are rough, and they just want to get there. And I don't know if they care or know that people are using them as political fodder. So it's kind of disappointing. I probably have different views than a lot of people on borders. But hey, you know, get your cement poured, get your roof done, get your grass cut without immigrants. I I don't think anyone's going to show up at the door. There's a few people out there that'll work, but nowadays most guys, most kids, most Americans won't do physical labor at all. So, anyway, that's my take on the story, and I'm going to rehash that and see if I learn anything. And then I will arrive in Papantla and the real story begins. And that is that I'm going down there to speak at a conference for the Tumin project, which is they call it an indigenous currency, but what it is a local currency that has expanded throughout Mexico, and it is one-to-one with the peso. And it's called Tumin, T-U-M-I-N. It is the Nahuatl word, or the indigenous word, the Mayan word for money. It's a very similar pronunciation all across South America, and anyway, that's what it means. It's money. So this group of people had an altercation with the government. When they created the money, the Bank of Mexico came after them, and they had to use constitutional protections to keep the Bank of Mexico from persecuting them or prosecuting them. And these exceptions worked, and the money has been around for 12 years, and it went from a college into a city into 25 states, and it was a fascinating project to me, and I went and met them, and now I'm part of the project. So I'm on my way down there to speak at their conference, because we're going to try to do the same thing here in Texas. And it's a small thing, just here in Austin. Some of my friends, we'll get together and create a network where we use this money. Throughout this video and this story of me traveling 850 or 900 miles, however far it is, it's 16 to 20 hour drive, I'll tell a little bit more about this story, and then I'll spend 3 days in Papantla meeting the people, and you will see what's going on. The other addition to this story is that we are creating a digital version for the Tuministas, as they call themselves, so that they can go beyond just the paper currency that they've created. Their paper currency, it's traded in person. It's one-to-one with the peso, and it kind of acts like a rewards point. I'll explain that further. But it can only be traded in person. And now that there are so many different regions of Mexico actually using this, I will explain what a region is as well. But there are people in 25 states, over 3,000 users that are using Tumin. And our digital aspect to this bridges that gap from city to city. So now people can actually transact from city to city and use Tumin as well. And we've added in some features to help protect the people. Extreme security. It's a privacy cryptocurrency that's not easily traced, tracked, manipulated, or anything else. So it's a cool story. Stay tuned, and you will learn a lot. Yeah, I think I've got another 6 hours or more to get down to the border at least. And so it's midnight now. I just kind of chilled out for a little while. My plan was to leave Austin at midnight and be able to cross the border around 6 a.m. or so I would have a little bit of time to go track down some of those immigrants and ask their story. Well, I've been cruising all night, nice and early in the morning, and I'm almost to the border, I'm pretty sure. It's like 7 miles left to go. I think. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm I believe I'm crossing in Reynosa, Mexico. I guess they had to do a little bit of barricading at one point, huh? Oh, there's the river. All right. We're now in Mexico. Alrighty. And there's a lot of guys. Alright. Reynosa Far. This is the name of the border crossing here. And all went very well. I was the only one in the office getting my papers. So, alright, so I did a little asking around, and I'm in Reynosa, right near the river actually, and I've kind of located one of these camps where the people are, and you can see right here, it's mostly black people, and my assumption would be they're from Haiti. I don't really know. I'll take a buzz by this camp down here. You can get kind of an idea. Of course, you won't be able to smell what I'm smelling, but right behind this gate right here, it's like a tent city in there, and people are just living right there. Quite a bit. And then quite a few people. But it looks like they're just all Haitians or whatever that are grouped here together. So that's kind of a look at it. Let me stop and ask somebody. A little nervous about doing this, but I can do it. All right. Yeah, Colombians, Dominicanos, Chile, they're from all over South America, and they're here in Reynosa, and they want to come to work, man. Trabajando, sí? Sí, they just want to, man, they just want to make a living here. So be ready for them. They're coming. 3 meses por permiso. They have to stay here for 3 more months in basically the shanty town before they can get permission. So, good luck, man. Vaya con Dios. So, what I'm learning is maybe some of my suspicion might be misplaced. I mean, although the group that I seen, of course, when I was going through Oaxaca, was definitely led by a couple of gringos. But what these guys are telling me, and I didn't interview them on camera because my Spanish is not good enough, so I'm just trying to glean what I can from this. Anyway, the reason why there were so many different people from different countries traveling in these groups together is because there's a rally point in Colombia on the other side of the Darien Gap, and they just kind of meet up there, and then they just take off. But they said it's not really organized. They just happen to be coming together, and so they travel together. But you know, like I said, the people that I had met in Oaxaca, you know, they made up multiple countries, and they were walking together. So yeah, they just want a chance. I don't know. I couldn't really get a straight answer on where they heard about it. Maybe on the news. I don't know what organization. Yeah, I don't know. My Spanish is not good enough to figure that out. But yeah, man, I feel sorry for these guys. They're gonna have to sit there right next to the Rio Grande River for 3 more months, and that's what they think. I mean, that's not a guarantee. One of the guys, the main guy I was talking to there, who was kind of giving me the most information, says he's an electrician, and that he had lived in Chile and Dominica, and you know, he was from all over. Yeah, it's a trip, man. So they're not trying to invade. I don't think. I mean, they're waiting for their permission. So onward, I have another 9.5 hours according to the map for Papantla, where I'll be speaking at the Tumin conference. But as always in Mexico, for 9 hours you probably add 2 or 3 hours to that. Partly because I'll have to rest here and there, and you know, getting gas and all that stuff, but also the maps are just not that accurate here. This is beautiful. So I'm in the state of Veracruz now. This was a pretty rough day, actually. Coming through Tamaulipas, and before I got to Tampico, it was well over 100 degrees, and it was hot. I went through a couple of gallons of water at least, and it was very, very uncomfortable for sure. Uh-oh. Looks like I'm on empty. I've been on empty for a little while now, and I don't see any gas stations up ahead. I do have a little bit of reserve in my gas can, but not a full can, maybe a half. Well, I'm safely back in Texas from Papantla Veracruz at the Tumin conference, and there was just too much to cover. When you're in Texas, you drink some Lone Star. Anyway, there was just too much to cover with the ride and the conferences itself. So I have to break this down in 2 parts. And the first part is the drive and my encounter with the migrants at the border. And then the second half is, of course, what happens in Papantla. So stay tuned for both. I mean, definitely check them out. It was a surprisingly amazing time in Papantla. The people were fantastic. It was way more than I actually expected it to be. And I am proud to be a part of it. So definitely tune into the next episode and find out what happens in Papantla. Cheers.